John McCain went on the Sunday shows and spoke about Russia. He has a lot of agreement with corporate Democrats nowadays. So let's see what he had to say about a ceasefire that was brokered by the U.S. and Russia in Syria.
So the UN ambassador said, in terms of consequences for Russian interference in the election, she said, don't think this is over. And she suggested consequences could come. But the president this morning is tweeting, and he said the following: now it is time to move forward in working constructively with the Russians. That seems to suggest no consequences.
Well, so far, the interesting aspect of this whole issue is we know that Russia tried to change the outcome of our election last November, and they did not succeed, but there was really sophisticated attempts to do so. So far, they have not paid a single price for that. We passed a very good bill through the Senate on sanctions, and we also have other proposals out there. But as far as a specific penalty for what they did, there has been no penalty. So if you were Vladimir Putin, who I've gotten to know over the years, you're sitting there and you got away with literally trying to change the outcome, not just of our election, French election, tried to overthrow the government of Montenegro, a beautiful little country. I recommend it. There's been no penalty whatsoever. Time to move forward. Yes, it's time to move forward, but there has to be a price to pay.
Why not? Why does there have to be a price?
Otherwise, he will be encouraged to do so again, obviously. I mean, does anyone doubt his intentions of undermining American supremacy, undermining democracy, the principles of freedom and all of the things that have epitomized Europe and the world since the end of World War II? For the last 70 years, we've had a new world order. And that is now under severe stress, not only in Europe, but all over the world.
Wow, I have a lot to say about this. There's so many little things he says that he doesn't realize how illuminating it is as to what his actual mindset is. So, first of all, Russian interference, Russian interference, Russian interference. Again, what does he mean by that? Well, what he means by that is, allegedly, Russia released the DNC emails, gave them to WikiLeaks, and said, hey, look what the DNC is doing, and then WikiLeaks ran with it. Now, again, it's always fucking blame the messenger. Never hey, it just proves the DNC is a scumbag organization that was trying to rig it for Hillary Clinton. And, we learned how Debbie Wasserman Schultz pressured the media, and we learned how Donna Brazile was slipping Hillary Clinton questions before the debates. We learned how they tried to change the voting times in pro-Bernie districts. We learned how they tried to hide the debate so that Hillary could keep her lead. We learned from Hillary's own words about how, you need to have a public position and a private position. We should have totally free and open trade borders. Aren't the rich, isn't there a lot of bigotry against the rich in America nowadays? So we learned all these horrific things that they said and that they did. And instead of saying, man, you guys are fucked up, people are going, I can't believe you released the information that we're fucked up. So that doesn't, that means nothing to me. I'm happy that we got that information about the DNC. I don't give a fuck who gave it. I don't care if it was Russia. I don't care if it was Ted Bundy. I don't care who gave the American people that information. We should have that information. Period. But no, Russia hacking, Russia hacking, Russia hacking, Russia hacking, Russia hacking. Now, any further claims about they went into the voting machines and they've just switched the votes. No evidence presented for it whatsoever, and it's flat out hysteria. So, right off the bat, Russian interference, that's already suspect. But then he gets into, they haven't paid a price. But wait, you also just said that you did sanctions on them. Now, we already did sanctions over Crimea, which, by the way, I actually agree with those sanctions. I agree with the sanctions over Crimea. They can't just go in there and jack Crimea. That's not okay. So we did sanctions over that, but then Obama did another round of sanctions over the election interference. Remember the whole story about how they're kicking out the place where there were Russians who were allegedly spying or something, and, they did extra sanctions as a result of the election fuckery? So they did it. And you just said you voted on it, John McCain. So what are you talking about? Well, they haven't paid a price. You just said they paid a price, more sanctions. So if you're saying they haven't paid a price, even though you did sanctions, what are you calling for? What other price could there be? If you're not talking about sanctions, what are you talking about? Are you talking about some sort of military escalation? Because that's all that's left. You already hit them economically. You already hit them financially. You already did sanctions. So then what else is there? They need to pay a price. What price? You want to start a freaking war with Russia, with another nuclear-armed power, you maniac? So he's so hawkish, and he doesn't even realize how hawkish he is. And then notice, Trump's tweet, the part they didn't highlight on the screen there was, oh, we reached a ceasefire in Syria. That's wonderful news. And then he says, well, we should work constructively with Russia. They didn't highlight the part about the ceasefire in Syria. They highlighted the part about we should work constructively with Russia. And they're using it as some sort of nefarious evidence of like, oh, see, Putin's puppet. So now, even if they do something positive, like agree to stop murdering people in Syria, if there's a ceasefire, it's being spun as like, Putin's puppet. But what if it's a good thing that there's a ceasefire? What if that's a good thing? But no, now they're just like anti-ceasefires. So they just want the war to continue to be a hot war. So this is so warped. And this is, again, what the Democrats believe too, the corporate Democrats. McCain is in total agreement with the corporate Democrats on this. So now they're openly against working constructively for a ceasefire in Syria because something Russia. And then probably the most important parts. He spoke about how, well, I mean, the problem with Putin is he's against American supremacy. Supremacy? He used that word. I didn't use that word. He used that word. American supremacy. So now he's just coming out and saying it. You know, this is really the neocon mantra. We believe in American supremacy. Think about that. I mean, there's a fundamental contradiction in this belief. Because when people say, well, come on, American values. I mean, we believe in freedom, democracy, human rights, and equality. But how do you say you believe in those things when you just said American supremacy? Supremacy means greater than, better than. So you're saying America is better than all you other measly countries in the world. We run shit here. But, oh, we believe in equality. That's why we should run shit. But you just said you're supreme. You just said you have supremacy. So you can't have it both ways. Either you believe in equality or you believe in American supremacy. It's one or the other. It can't be both. It is a fundamental contradiction. It cannot be both. You have to pick one. But John McCain really does have an answer to that. He believes in American supremacy. And again, hilarious. Russia interfering in elections. You have no idea. He even mentioned post-World War II, there's been a new world order. Meaning the U.S. has controlled everything. John, how many countries has the U.S., gotten involved in elections over those years? How many governments have we toppled? And not with fucking information, with military juntas. Look at Iran in 1953. We toppled their democratically elected government because Mohammad Mossadegh, the leader in Iran, wanted to stop having the West jack their oil. He wanted the oil profits to go to the people of Iran. So we had to militarily topple him. The CIA toppled him. Weird. He's praising the world system post-World War II, where the U.S. is the sole superpower, while he's also denouncing Russian election interference. So that means you're okay with U.S. election interference because you were just praising the system post-World War II, but you're not okay with alleged Russian interference, even when the alleged Russian interference is with information, and ours is with guns, and with a military, and with the CIA. We've toppled so many governments post-World War II. The opposite of democracy, the opposite of freedom. We prop up Saudi Arabia. You're going to pretend we believe in human rights? He's so full of shit. He's so full of shit. He believes in American supremacy. He believes in a new world order. He believes our way or the highway. We get to violate international law. We get to not believe in human rights. We get to believe in authoritarianism and pretend it's freedom. But we're going to scream and cry and yelp and bitch and moan and say bloody murder if there's so much as negative information about one of the candidates that got out in our election. Look, man, here's the bottom line. The U.S. should be a nation among nations, not a nation above nations. And by the way, that's a line from an Obama speech. Unfortunately, he didn't act like that, but that's what we should be. There shouldn't be Russian supremacy. There shouldn't be American supremacy. It should just be countries that do their best to get along and be fair around the world. And wherever there's actual violations of human rights, we should do sanctions or something like that. Saudi Arabia, you name it. There's a million examples of it. But there should be reasonable avenues to negotiate and ameliorate differences and problems between countries. Not this neocon, insane mindset. American supremacy, New World Order, our way or the highway. You fucked with our election. You haven't paid a price yet, even though we sanctioned you. What should we do next? Like, this is all threatening talk. And he's unaware of how horrific these consequences are with another nuclear-armed nation, so he needs to pipe the fuck down.